to get into the promo, JP, it's got to be said, like, was it a rerun? Like, what was it? Like, I've got so many thoughts on this one. Like, I could run an hour on my thoughts on this one. I just thought it was weak. I thought it was unconvincing. I thought, like, it was funny because we did spend the Monday and there were Chinese whispers going around. I heard some of these whispers. Oh, you won't believe what Punk's going to say about AEW and Tony Khan. Like, he's, I think I was told outright scorched earth, I think was the quote. So there's an element of that where it's like, obviously that probably wouldn't be the advisable route, but it would have been fucking entertaining if it came. But obviously we didn't go that route, and we got a definitely more professional CM Punk. But for me, JP, the content wasn't there, the delivery wasn't there. He looked dead behind the eyes. I don't know if I'm the first person to make this comparison. I'm sure a number of people have. But like, my first thing that I put on Twitter was just a picture of Bret Hart in WCW, because that's what he looked like. And when we did the Bret Hart show, and it was like, he comes out in his fucking blue t-shirt and his leather jacket and his shit sunnies, and it's written all over his face like, this creative sucks. This company's not what I thought it was going to be. Fucking get me out of here. Like, it was almost like that. And he just, like I say, CM Punk's a person who's built his brand, JP, on, whether you want to say integrity or not, I'm not sure with a lot of the Punk stories. But, a believability factor.
Yeah.
I didn't believe a word he said. And it propagated me despite my misgivings about the punk rock guy who says a lot of things, Saudi blood money and, all kinds of, human rights and stuff like that. Him going back to WWE was bad enough, but I think I managed to convince myself, oh, well, I'm going to get more CM Punk, so fuck it. It's great. And I walked out of Raw just much less excited than just like, oh, fuck, is this a man here to cash checks? Because it very much feels like it. And I can't believe that's the starting point, JP. We can get into obviously the wider implications of him in WWE and whether it was a good idea, but I think we've got to start there.
Yeah, it was shit. I think there's no other word for it. It was shit. It was a shit promo. Like, and it wasn't like they started off the show hot. They waited till the end of hour 3, when I'm assuming, having not watched an episode of Raw for years, they're knackered at the best of times. So they came out and it felt dead, like, in terms of the atmosphere, and it was just the most going through the motions kind of promo. Because I was just trying to think, what did he actually say? And it was almost like there was a discourse as well that then followed it, where people were wanting to read too much into it and go, no, actually, it's not that complex. You're looking for hidden meaning in a Dolph Lundgren film here, lads. This is just shit delivery. It's just shit content. There is no deeper meaning. He might as well just say, I'm here for the money, and then bye-bye, and then just
Basically
like walk off. Yeah.
At the end, he got off the mic, didn't he?
I'd appreciate it. But yeah, it was, the thing about it is this version of CM Punk is the least appealing. Surely, like, if it felt scripted, or it just felt some completely nondescript. There was zero, just a complete lack of fire, which is weird. It's weird. Don't get me wrong. I know, like, some of his like collision promos and stuff like that, but it was like he at least had like the creative reins, and it feels very clear like he is not. I don't know. This is me kind of hypothesizing stuff, and I'm sure we're going to get into this a lot more in terms of why it was that bad. And there's a part of me thinking of him sort of going, I'm going to have to go along with what they say for a bit. And that's how it came across. Someone is like, yeah, I'm going to have to go along with this because I can't really piss them off, because where else am I going to be able to go? There'll always be Impact, or TNA, but that will always end up feeling like a kind of, everywhere else will be a kind of like a step down. And this is my last chance to kind of do things on a really big stage. So he felt like he had to eat shit, and he looked like a man who'd been forced to eat shit. And, and he hated it. And I fucking hated it. It was awful. And it was like, tell me if I'm telling lies. And I was like, you're telling lies, mate. Yeah, you are. See, now you are telling lies, and everything you say about wanting to be there, and you're back home.
That's the issue a lot. And it's like, how could he have sold this? Because we all know why he's there. He's there because that's his option. He's there because he blew up the bridge with AEW. Maybe on purpose in some ways. We've probably got an element of that story to talk about later.
Definitely.
But, it's not a happy story. This isn't his, like, return to wrestling. It was always going to be difficult to frame it, especially with all the fucking things he said about WWE over the last couple of years, or really over the last decade or so, to thread that through line. And it was always going to be an uphill battle. But I just think a lot of the things people are saying are just excuses. I know Dan doesn't mean it this way in the chat. He says there, tell me if I'm reading lines, which is a funny line. But I've heard a lot of people go, well, it's scripted promos. And I was going, I don't think it was scripted. I imagine it was, cleared. I imagine he had to tell someone what he was going to say. But it felt like some of those bad Collision promos because they weren't all great. And some of those Collision promos got very rambly and very he'd lost his train of thought. There were little moments like that in there for a very short promo, by the way. And we'll get into why it was so short in a bit as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was scripted whatsoever. Maybe there's lawyers involved as to what he could say and what he couldn't say. But I just think, I don't know what your take is going to be on it, Matty. But for me, there was nothing you would expect one of the greatest talkers of all time in wrestling to have at least a couple of quotable lines in there. He didn't really. To have a couple of memorable lines in there, he didn't really. And yeah, I just think even if you want to say we should have gone out, but he can't go out there and just break kayfabe and break the fourth wall and all that stuff. Even with those caveats, this wasn't by CM Punk standards. Again, he's one of the greatest talkers of all time, so it can only be so bad. But it was on the lower end of one of his promos. There's a million ways I think this promo could have gone better, Matt. I know you've been kind of sitting back and laughing at the discourse on it, but this wasn't one of Phil's best.
No, I mean, and I kind of agree with what you've said, what JP said, with a bit of the discourse read. I'm still, it's like I'm getting hung, drawn, and quarter because there's so much, like you're saying there. It's it wasn't.
You're a WWE correspondent, mate. You've got to defend him.
No, we did. I'm just saying it wasn't his best promo by any stretch. Of course, it's not because of what you just said. He's not allowed to say stuff. You don't want to, in an ideal world, we'd want him to come in and hotshot this Seth Rollins and you're this, and people having a go. It's just not like that anymore, and people understand that. Everyone understands it's not going to be like that in WWE. I don't think it's as bad though as the way people are going on. I don't think it was the worst I've ever did. You know what I've seen that a lot. That it's but it's he was, I don't know, you might like this. He'd get a few lines in there, like what he used to say in WWE, like the voice of the voiceless. He referred to the pipe bomb thing with I'm the best in the ring, on the mic, on the commentary. So we got all that type of thing in, even with his little side entrance Titantron. It was all the gimmicks he had in WWE. So, but I understand that, Ben, from especially someone like yourself, who's a big follower of CM Punk, that it's gonna be so different seeing him back there. So, as I say, I'm a bit all over with it, but I don't think it's as bad ultimately as the way people are reacting. So I hope that made a bit of sense there.
No, it does. And, there's the other side of it where, JP alluded to, people are going full meta with it, with, he was purposely trying to, sync the promo as that's how he's going to get to his enemies and stuff like that. And, there's a petty part of Punk that absolutely would probably love the idea that he spent the entire day worrying AEW and worrying Tony Khan and then actually didn't say anything. So I can buy that. But I just think even because that's the thing here, as people who follow AEW, we've heard this all before, because that's why it felt like a rerun, because he had to say a lot of the same things he said in his AEW returns, but with a lot less conviction and a lot less, like you said, JP, believability behind it, because you don't really believe he sees WWE as home. You don't really believe, a lot of the things he's saying about the fans and stuff like that. Have they really been chanting for CM Punk? Not for a few years, to be honest. That sounds like the AEW fan base, not the WWE fan base. But I think even allowing for those restrictions, Matty, because I don't think you're far off the mark when it comes to maybe some of the more extreme reactions. But even with those restrictions, and I don't buy the Punk had a day to come up with this promo. On things that I've heard, I think this was, in the works for a while. And he, based on report we're seeing today, was the one who wanted to come back. So, he knew this was coming at some point, or at least wanted this to come to fruition at some point. But, even if he'd gone out there, I'm fucking nobody, but, remember his Cauliflower Alley promo when he went in the Hall of Fame and he was sucking up to WWE? Just say some of that. His story about how, you don't have to go into all the indies and what you got up to with the Gold Bomb Mafia and all that stuff. But the basic gist of that story was that he worked so hard to get to WWE and then he didn't fit and then he got in and then he managed to get over and be a big star. And you could tell all that and make WWE seem like he did in that promo, because it was the weekend after Wembley and he acted like Wembley didn't happen. But the biggest achievement he ever got in his career was winning the ECW title and the WWE, you know what I mean? But he could do that and he could tell that story and he could put over the company as you know, this is the #1 wrestling company in the world. You don't have to say the words AEW, but you can put over the fact that that is true. You know, a lot of, like, to my point before, a lot of these WWE fans haven't seen this AEW material. You know, you can put that over. You know, you can put over the guys that are there. You know, we didn't even do that. You know, the token, oh, you know, there's a locker room full of hungry talent. Fucking just names of people: Cody, Gunther. You know, the list isn't that long. We'll get into, like, the possible dream match in WWE, but there's names you can say, and you can use that, and you can say that, and you can, you know, even just go into, like, the strife of having, because that's the thing, if you're a WWE fan and you haven't been paying too much attention to AEW, and his story dropped off in 2014 when he left, and now he's coming back here, tell that story too. You know, he left under, you know, he could tell that, you know, it wasn't a great situation. You know, I had a lot of issues at the time with the company and stuff like that, and there's been a lot of, you know, stuff that's happened over the years that made me not want to come back, and now I'm facing my demons and I'm coming back, and I'm going to get back to the top of the #1 wrestling company in the world. Like, imagine CM Punk saying that, not just me, this Scouse Snobhead on a podcast. Like, that's all good material.
No,
none of it. None of it.
But maybe I am biting a bit, like he's saying. Maybe I'm not reading into it so much, but maybe I am biting in a bit that this will, and I'm not saying the infamous lines and let it play out, Benno, but with Seth earlier on, maybe I'm looking into it, watching the show, Seth saying he's a hypocrite on Raw, and then Punk coming out doing all this, which JP said, and he's right, he's got to eat a bit of shit though, hasn't he, for all the stuff he has said over the years. It was like him eating a lot of shit, but he is sucking up, I'm home, and this, that, and the other, which does lean into the Seth feud a bit, where Seth can say, well, you are a hypocrite, and then it can carry on. So maybe I am biting there, I don't know, but I don't know, I just say what I said before, I just don't think it's as bad as people go on, but like diehard fans like yourself, I do get why
you only get one chance, though. I mean, I know we're saying in the chat here, JP, you know, it's the third, fourth, whatever number return like this. So of course there's going to be diminishing returns, but there's still only one time he gets to stand in a mic for the first time in 10 years in WWE, and I think for me, it didn't live up to that stage, and it didn't live up to the build up for that, and presumably we're not going to get the rating until tomorrow. But the rating, the amount of people have probably tuned in for this.